Hello, I'm Jessica Parsons, one of the OER specialists at Paradise Valley Community College. So what I'm going to show today is a little bit about how we use shared drives as OER specialists to streamline our process and make sure that the teachers are involved in every step of the process. So to do that, we use Google Drive, and there's an option called Shared Drives. And what shared drives are, it's like creating a folder and sharing it with everyone, but it gives you more options for sharing and for collaboration than just a regular file. It also means that no one person is the sole owner of it. So, for example, if someone's Google Drive goes away, or 20 years from now someone retires and their email address is no longer active, that folder will still be available to everyone else that it's shared with. So in order to create a shared drive, you're going to right click and click New Shared Drive, and you're going to name it something, and then click Create. It does take a couple of seconds, sometimes up to a minute, for it to create. But once it's created, you're going to have an empty Google Drive. So here we have it. It's currently empty and we can add files to it. The great news is that we can upload files or upload entire folders. If a teacher has given us a folder of materials that they currently have, we can use that. We've found that using folders, for example, creating a folder on existing materials, and using that, the folders to keep this very organized. Organization in the Google Drive is something that you want to start with at the beginning. It makes things very easy to find for the teachers and for yourself, and it can make it very easy, especially if you're collaborating with others, to see what has been done and what needs to continue to be done. So existing materials, this is where we would put things like the syllabus, a PDF of the textbook, notes from past classes, any PowerPoints that the teachers have, anything that they would like us to use to reference to build their course. And then what we'll do is we'll create a section on modules or chapters depending on what sort of a medium we are creating. So in this modules and chapters section, we would have things broken down by either the topics, sometimes the weeks of a course. We'll break it up into the modules or the chapters for the textbook. Just whatever makes the most sense for the project that you're working on and whatever the teacher will find the easiest to work with. And then once you're in here, you can create things like Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, upload PDF files into here. We've found that it's very helpful to have, for each one of the modules, sometimes things won't be in document form, so sometimes it can be very helpful to add in a Google Doc simply for links. So for example, if we had a link to Google, for example, we can add the links here to be able to keep them all together. And we would want to keep this organized and organize it in whatever way makes the most sense. Usually it's with a header and then several links with a description next to each link, because we're not going to remember why did we have a link to Google. The great thing about this is the teachers can go through, and for each link they can click on this add a comment button once they've highlighted it, and they can add a comment for any of the information, and then they can also reply to it. So you can keep a chain going for this link about an ongoing discussion that doesn't muddy up the rest of your paper. So they can comment and say this works. They can comment and say, can you find something that talks a little bit more about something in the topic. You can also discuss the rights and how things can be used in this. It's a great tool to be able to communicate with the teachers and make it very easy to find things, because then in a list of links they can just go to the one that says Google that will be highlighted for them, and they can just see the ongoing discussion on the side. So now that we've talked a little bit about that, let's close this document and we will go back to our main folder. So you can see here that there's one person in this drive currently, and that's myself because I created it. However, I am not the creator. I don't have that power. I have a different role, which if we click on Add Members, this is where you can add people by their name or email address, and this will go through the contact list for Maricopa if you're in Maricopa or some other place. And you can write a message, but the roles that we have are manager, content manager, contributor, commenter, and viewer. Manager is what is the default for the creator. They are able to manage everything about this drive. We can add people, we can take people off of the drive, we can change the settings of the drive and how things are, notifications are sent out, things like that. So it is the big picture. We can do everything in this drive. Content managers, however, have the ability to control documents and files in the Google Drive. So for example, we can add things and change things and delete folders and files and have complete control over the file structure of the drive. Whereas a contributor, they can add and edit files, but they can't delete things, they can't move things around. They are simply there to add to it. In Canvas, this is sort of similar to, the content manager is similar to the teaching assistant role in Canvas, where they can't necessarily work on grades or see a lot of that content, but they can add pages and move pages around and things like that. The contributor is just sort of the next step down from that. Whereas a commenter can do exactly what I just showed you. They can go into a Google Drive, a Google Docs, for example, and they can add comments to things and make suggestions, but they don't have control over any of the content. And the viewer has even less control, whereas they can't comment on things, they can just be sort of this silent viewer. I would say for the most part you're going to use the manager and content manager roles. For the most part we tend to put teachers as content managers so that they can add and delete and move files. And the specialists are the managers so that we can add people into it and know who's being added into the process so that we know to keep them involved in the emails, and that way we can adjust the settings as needed. The only time that I would say we would use contributor is if there is a teacher who is not comfortable with having the ability to move and delete files. If they're worried about something like that, we would use contributor. And commenter and viewer is really if there's a person involved in your process who doesn't want to be involved in the content at all. They just want to be able to sort of see what's going on. That can be very good if you have someone, for example, who is checking the English of the work, checking that everything is formatted correctly, that sort of a thing. But they don't necessarily want to be the ones to make those formatting changes. They just want to be able to say, hey, we need to look at the flow of this paragraph, for example. Things like that. But in this Add New Members tag, you can, again, add them by email address. It's best to send the notification, just because if you don't send the notification, the teacher might not always know that they've been added to a shared drive. And you can always manage the members as well. And that's where you can also change their roles. So, for example, if you have a teacher as a content manager and you want to make them a manager, you can totally do that just in the Manage Members section. So once you're done with that, you'll just click Send. So that is a little introduction about how we use shared drives as OER specialists here at Paradise Valley Community College. Thank you so much and have a great day.